All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. Obviously, really excited about this opportunity to face James Madison in a playoff game here at Autzen Stadiym. I think our fans are going to be unbelievable. This will be a unique atmosphere that doesn't exist, in the last 20 years, and now you get the opportunity to experience it now. I know our players are excited to play this team. Just really getting started, hopping in and evaluating these guys. Been able to watch them a little bit this afternoon. Obviously, they got a really talented team. Coach Chesney's done a really good job with these guys. They've been really successful in several games. Just looking through it this morning, I think they've had 9 games where they rushed for over 200 yards, and that's a common component for them and their success. Played really good defense and really good special teams. So excited about the opportunity and can open it up for questions.
Let's start with Bree.
Hey, Dan. I would love to ask you about Dante Moore. We had talked before the season about him, and you described him using the words poise, calm, swagger. You highlighted his arm talent. And now it's nearly 6 months later, so much as that has shown up. But in what ways do you think that he's maybe changed?
Yeah, I just think the maturity of time. We started this season with a lot of guys. Dante being one of them. That the experiences had been limited, and we got to see a lot of action in practice. But now that experience is no longer limited. You've seen a guy win a game for us in overtime. You've seen a guy create 2-minute drives that turned in success for our team. You see a guy that's won over his teammates. So many people fighting for positions throughout the season. He's a person that's stepped up and has great maturity, a great disposition that I think shown up for us throughout the season.
Dan, no first round bye this year, but you still have 3 weeks between the last time you played and this time. Last year it was 25 days between your last game to the Rose Bowl. What did you learn from that time in getting players fresh and healthy, but also trying to keep them in the mode and not letting rust build?
Yeah, there's some benefits to how this has played out potentially this year, just with class wrapping up. A lot of those things have been a piece of this that our players are dealing with, finishing up classes, finals, giving them an opportunity to have a little bit of a reset. This past week for us was really more lifts and just an opportunity to attack the classroom and get a little bit of a break from us, which I think is a positive, and then able to reset in this next coming week into what it'll look like moving forward. So certainly some lessons learned. I won't share all of those, but taking a little bit different approach to some of the things we attacked this season.
Matt Preem.
Yeah, Dan, I don't know how often you've watched JMU play football on TV this year or prep for it. So I guess just how do you kind of build a plan and build the scouting report? What's the process like for an opponent that maybe you haven't even watching for another team's preparation?
Yeah, really, Matt, no different than every other team that we prepare for. You're usually so focused on the team that you're currently playing that you're not watching a lot of other college games throughout the season. So as the film gets uploaded on your system, you start breaking them down. And you try to take an opportunity to go back and watch those, and that's what we've already started today. So process is really no different. Evaluate the film that you see, attack what you see. Try to talk to some people that have maybe played common opponents, see what opinions they have on that team, and break it down just like a normal week.
Christopher Heidel.
Hey, Coach Dan, this is Chris Heidel from Herman in Baltimore. I covered JMU back in the days in the CAA and all that stuff. What do they look like now? Because they have a very good running game because they put 300 yards on against Troy on that title game. Do you think that's one of the things you got to work on and keep that two-headed monster from, making this game a long game?
Yeah, that's certainly one of the things that we noticed, Chris, right this morning, going back and watching the film, evaluating them, that they run the ball really well. I think they've got a good system in place to make sure they're running runs that create success. It's going to be something we have to prepare ourselves to stop.
James.
Dan, just take us into your weekend from Friday night. How much were you watching both the Tulane game? Because at that time, that looked like the greater likelihood for opponent versus the JMU game. And then last night, how tuned in were you to the ACC championship and obviously the ramifications that had?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more like a fan like you guys. I was just flipping channels, watching football all weekend. It was awesome. I guess that's what people get to do on a normal Saturday. But yeah, we watched all of them. Watched Tulane, watched a little bit of JMU, watched each game that was on. So it was fun to be able to sit back and watch and evaluate.
Owen.
Yeah, Dan, you talked about how unbelievable the fans have been all year, and you mentioned that this game is in the middle of winter break. A lot of students are already planning to head home, already bought tickets. Just do you have a pitch, a message to them to tell them, hey, like you should stay to watch this game?
No, I don't think I have to create a pitch. Our fans are going to show out for this game. There's zero doubt in my mind that they'll be there. Well, if it's not a student, it'll be another Oregon fan that's in there. But they don't want to miss the opportunity to see the one playoff game in Autzen Stadium. That hasn't happened before. So I think we'll have a lot of fans there ready to support it and ready to see that myself.
Eric.
Dan, there have been reports about some promotions in-house. I want to ask you to confirm that unless you'd like to do that here for us. But what would, in theory, would make Drew and Chris good candidates to be coordinators?
Yeah, I'm not going to hop on that right now. Certainly appreciate it. There's going to be great opportunities for a lot of guys within our staff, but that's not the focus of this talk.
Bill.
You guys have obviously navigated the coast-to-coast travel in the Big Ten remarkably well these first 2 years. But when you just consider your draw in this playoff, how do you see the potential of 3 cross-country trips in 3 weeks?
Well, if anybody's prepared for it, Bill, it's us. We've done it a lot, and I think we travel really well. We'll try to keep the routine as much, as simple as possible, and as much like normal games that we've done in the past. But before we ever get to that point, we got to take care of business here.
Zach.
I apologize if you want to keep this on college football playoff, but we have not had a chance to talk to you about Jalen Lott and Kendra Harrison since they signed. So I was curious if you could tell me about their recruitment and what's special about them, and understand if you want to focus on the playoff game instead.
Yeah, certainly want to focus on the playoff game, but we were able to add some elite players, and those are 2 guys that are certainly worthy of that discussion. You watch what they've done for their teams, what they were able to create with their high school teams. Kendra's a guy I got to see in person play. Set school records there for touchdowns. Obviously a huge target in the red area, but also a guy that can carry the ball. He does a lot of different stuff. And then same thing for Jalen. He's a guy that got multiple touches. His speed. I think everyone recognized his catch radius, his ability. It just shows up consistently on film. And certainly a guy that has a lot of versatility for his team. We're hoping to carry that over here to Oregon.
Jack.
With just the college football playoffs in general, with the expansion, you get some unique matchups this season for you guys. Definitely a unique one taking on JMU. What are your thoughts just about the way the playoffs are set up and providing that unique touch and the unique matchups to the game of college football?
Yeah, I mean, it's creating some opportunities that this game would probably never exist. There'll never really be a situation we play a team like James Madison. So it's unique in the way that it's set up. It's the college football playoff itself. It takes away some excitement of some of these other bowl games. I think we're all seeing it now today where teams are dropping out right and left. It's great to be a team that's getting an opportunity to continue to play ball right now. And while these are unique matchups, that these are fun. It's fun to be a part of something. It's a little bit more of a March Madness feel nowadays than football. It's changed a little bit.
Nick? Wrong button.
My bad. I got fat fingers. Dan, you've been a part of some pretty cool stuff in your time there with Oregon. So what opportunity is this? What excites you just to be able to have a home game here at Autzen for the first time in the playoffs?
Yeah, first one ever. So that's the exciting piece, to get the chance to do something that hasn't been done here before. I know our players are really excited about it. I know our fans will, again, create an incredible atmosphere. I think this is an opportunity for the whole world to kind of see a little bit about what makes Autzen special. So I'm anticipating that energy and enthusiasm there. I think we all got to see some cool games last year in similar formats. So I think that'll be a special opportunity to peel back the layers and let people see what makes this place so special.
Matt?
You were in Will's and Tosh's shoes 4 years ago in coaching both sides. I guess what did you learn about that process, and how can you help them, and how can you maybe change a little bit for them to help you a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a tough position to be in, but it's one that's really rewarding. The hard part is just not being able to be boots on the ground there and being here, and focusing on what's going on here, because the reality is you have to be able to do a job here, and you have to be present for that job. So the hard part is doing that, knowing that you're not going to be able to be somewhere else. You got to have people you trust there. But there'll be a lot of conversations between now and the end of this thing for those guys to be able to make sure they maximize that opportunity.
James?
Dan, how familiar are you or not with Bob Chesney? Is he somebody who you've either crossed paths with? I know he's got a couple of staffers who spent some time in the SEC while you were there. And if not them directly, obviously with Billy taking over for him, and having nothing else to do at the moment, I imagine he could be helping them in some way, and I know you're familiar with him.
Yeah, not a lot of familiarity beyond what I've been able to watch this morning. Haven't worked with him before, but I am familiar with his path and been able to follow him and the success that he's had. And obviously, he's done an unbelievable job.
Bree.
Dan, how would you describe how Dante Moore has attacked his rehab and then just some of the leadership that he's been able to show while he hasn't been on the field?
Yeah, I think it starts with mindset, and Decorian, like several of the other guys that have been in that position, realize that they have a job to do as far as pushing themselves to be back in a position where they can help this team, and they can still help this team even when they're not out there on the field necessarily for us. So, really proud of how he's handled that. Proud with several of those guys and how they've handled that situation.
Christopher.
Hey, Dan, I have a question for you. With all these teams opting out in these bowl games, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think getting 15 days of extra practice is good for any team this time of year.
Yeah, it's certainly changed, Chris. I can't speak to anybody else's situation but ours. I would say it doesn't look the same as it's ever looked, especially when the portal opens in January as well. You used to be able to use this time, and it's almost like another spring practice. You were used to be able to get more high school seniors or guys that joined your team in to be able to practice. A lot of that stuff's changed a little bit. So this is a unique time, in that frame, and I certainly can't speak to anybody else's situation.
Eric.
Another question for you, Dan, about just kind of the Autzen experience. I guess what is your message to fans who are kind of, I guess, rearing for the opportunity, and maybe you mentioned it up in Seattle, maybe the weather becomes interesting. Kind of what are your expectations for just the whole thing?
It's going to be a great atmosphere. The 10-day forecast around here never necessarily holds true, so we'll see what that looks like as we prepare ourselves. But one thing I know I can count on is Autzen fans to make this a really fun experience for our student athletes. We went out there on senior day, and I remember talking to some of our players saying, I hope this isn't the last opportunity we get to play on this field. Well, now all those seniors get an opportunity to do it one more time here, which is really special.
Jack.
Coach, throughout the course of the season, there have been games where you said, just don't treat it differently. I think about the rivalry game against Washington. Don't treat it different than another game. You always preach, play the game, not the moment. But it feels like the playoffs have a little bit of a different feel, especially since it's win or go home. How do you keep the same mentality to make sure your players know to treat this like a regular game, or do you tell them not to treat this bigger?
Yeah, good question, Jack. I mean, ultimately, the process is the part you have to focus on, and the process has to be very similar to a normal game. But the stakes are certainly really high, knowing that this is, if you don't take care of business, you don't get a redo, you don't get another opportunity. So there is a difference. But I think the piece for us is to focus on what allows you to have success and what creates the result you want, and that's maintaining that process.
James.
When will that process be beginning this week for you guys? Dan, looked like a lot of the players took the opportunity to take the weekend and either go back home or go elsewhere. When will the team be reconvening and practices beginning this week?
Yeah, everybody will be back tomorrow, and we'll be rolling on Tuesday.
Zach.
You've talked all year about your ability to win games in different ways, to kind of, play in the game against Iowa or the shootout against USC. When you now face a more national landscape of teams, Big 12 teams, SEC, whatever it be, how much confidence does that give you that you can play different styles of football and still find success?
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence in our team. I think it's about all three phases being strong. When you get towards the end of the season, I don't think you can be a team that relies on one thing to have success. You got to be a team that can open it up and do it in different ways. I think we've certainly done that this year. What you hope is that all three phases come together in these games and make a big impact.